Welcome to Private Club Radio, your weekly source for industry education, news and discussion. Broadcasting from Tampa, Florida, ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Gabriel Aloisi.
Hey, good morning. It's 55 degrees here in Tampa. It's going to be a high of 85 degrees, and that is tough weather to dress for, let me tell you, when there's a 30-degree change. Crazy stuff. It's my birthday today, 38 years old, so I'm happy to be spending it with you today. Thanks for joining me, and we're going to have some fantastic guests on today, Mr. Leighton Walker and Eddie Bullock, who are starting the UK's newest and most exciting podcast in golf, Golf Club Talk UK. That show officially launches on November 1st. But right now, if you want to give me an early birthday present, what you'll do is pause this podcast right now and go ahead and subscribe to Golf Club Talk UK over on iTunes. Even if you are a listener here in the United States, you're going to enjoy this show. They're speaking with some incredible experts. Rob Hill is going to be their first official episode from Global Golf Advisors, partner with Henry Delosier. And they have some amazing managers coming on here in the coming weeks that you will not want to miss. So I'm going to just take a little break, turn the mic off here for 1 second so you can pause and subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, whatever it is that you listen to this podcast on for Golf Club Talk UK. I mean it. If you haven't paused and you're still listening, do it now. All right. I hope that you have subscribed to the show. If not, then you are missing out. These guys are going to be entertaining. They're going to be informative, and you are going to enjoy listening to them. They'll be dropping podcasts monthly over there, so make sure you hit subscribe. Here's my interview with Leighton Walker and Eddie Bullock. Well, I am excited to be joined today by two fantastic guests from the United Kingdom, Mr. Eddie Bullock, president of Goodwood Golf, and he's also the founder of Eddie Bullock Golf Consultancy, and Mr. Leighton Walker, general manager of Burford Golf Club. How are you gentlemen doing today?
We're good. Thanks, Gabe. It's good to be with you.
G'day, Gabe. Good to be with you again.
Yes, I love the good day. That's the Australian in you, Leighton.
Yeah, still a bit in there.
Absolutely. So what I'm really excited to talk to you guys about is the new podcast that you're launching, Golf Club Talk UK. So Leighton, I'll start off with you. If you could just give us an overview of this new podcast that's launching. It's happening on October 31st. You'll be having your first episode. What should folks be listening for, Leighton?
Yeah, thanks, Gabe. I guess this was inspired by your good self some time ago, and been lucky enough to appear on the show, and we've stayed in contact since, which has been great. But I guess I sort of just came up with the idea at some point. Well, why couldn't this work on a UK basis? We love listening to private club radio and getting that insight into what's happening in private clubs in the US. But we just felt there was a little bit of a gap here over in the UK for people getting information that's relevant to golf clubs in the UK. So that's sort of where the idea was formed. And then I spoke to Eddie Bullock, who I've known for some time now and worked with before. And we both really felt this had some legs. And then again, speaking to yourself, we've sort of put it into action now. So really what we're going to try and do is give as much information to people in the UK as possible that work in the golf club industry. And it's not just private clubs. You know, we've got a diverse range of clubs in the UK, whether it be proprietary, so company owned, or private clubs, municipal. So we're hoping that anyone that works at one of those clubs, maybe on boards or committees, can get something out of the information that we're going to provide. And that'll be in the form of interviews with key people in the industry. Maybe it's managers, course architects, consultants, food and beverage specialists, you name it. So we'll look to try and cover all aspects, but we're also maybe going to try and do something a little bit different and have some club reviews in there. So that'll be, picking out clubs that are doing something particularly well in a given area, and they can tell us a little bit about that, and people can can grab some best practice from that. So that's going to be the aim. Hopefully it'll be entertaining for people, whether that be in the UK or overseas. If they can get something out of it from abroad as well, then that's great too.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear it because I've actually gotten a little sneak peek of some of the first episodes and the interviews you guys have been doing, and just love the back and forth that you have together. I think you two will make great co-hosts. You just got a wonderful way about you two, the Australian and the British gentleman. So let's turn it over to the British gentleman, Eddie Bullock. Eddie,
no gentleman.
What are folks going to what are folks going to get on this show that they can't get elsewhere?
Well, Gabe, thank you for calling me a gentleman. I mean, that's quite a privilege. Listen, we do. I think between Leighton and I, Gabe, we would just want to make a difference and create new experiences and sort of probably outline the challenges that we're aware of with a number of the golf clubs, and also there's so many unsung heroes in the industry that are working very hard and doing a very good job in a lot of clubs. General managers, deputy managers, F&B managers, golf pros, that they need a voice. So probably what we're going to do is find them and allow them to have a voice. And you never know what can happen by that. You know, it gives everybody a chance to know what's actually happening in the game. You know, we can all improve our communication in every aspect. So I think this is a way that we can, between us, make that difference, really.
Yeah. Now, Leighton, you mentioned that there are differences between the American market and the European market, and specifically the UK market. And that's one thing that intrigued me when you guys decided to go this route of launching this new show, is to really address what makes UK golf unique. And so I'd love to hear from you guys in your own words what some of those things are in terms of what makes golf in the UK unique, golf club management in the UK unique, and different from other places in the world. Leighton, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, clubs the world over face very similar challenges, but I guess getting to the heart of what you're saying there is that golf in the UK is probably a lot more accessible. I think this has been touched on before in private club radio at various times, that, you know, most clubs over here average, you know, £1,000 a year to be a member. That can obviously be a lot higher than that, but that's the exception rather than the rule. So, you know, golf is very accessible. Anyone can join. Yes, clubs are struggling for members in certain areas. They're actively looking to grow their memberships and what they offer. But I think there's a lot more of that sort of grassroots level stuff that we'll probably deal with here. I think sort of Eddie spoke about the young unsung heroes, and maybe we rely a little bit more on volunteer assistance in clubs in the UK, and hopefully people in a volunteer role can perhaps get something out of the show as well. So I think that's probably one of the main differences. I think sometimes when we look at the golf industry, we tend to look at things very much at the high end, but the reality is most clubs in the UK are at a certain level, and that's a much more affordable, accessible route, really. And I think that's what we want to try and explore a little bit more and be something to all clubs out there, whether that be big, small, or in between.
Yeah, I love that. You want to add?
I've come in here just to basically, I think the UK market there is a change now, and certainly in the clubs, a positive change. Certainly the laws and regulations in the corporate law have started to make a notable difference in how clubs are actually running now in their governance policies. But we've been held really down a little bit because of the Victorian values that we've had. The game over here is a few years older than the US, so consequently our governance has changed, and consequently the sort of dynamics of the consumer has changed in terms of that market that wants to be a part of golf. And there's been this perception with a number of individuals in the game of that it's become an old-fashioned game. There's too many people with grey hair playing the game, and it's run by those people. So, but there is definitely a change now, and you're getting a younger involvement in influencers in the game. I mean, Leighton is one of those influencers that is making a difference with his club, and there's a number of other club managers now that are at that age that can make a difference. That's not taking away that we don't need experience, and we can learn from that experience. But the important thing is to get to a market within the UK, and they've got to be prepared to make those changes as well.
Yeah, I think it's just that real professionalisation of the industry that's going on, Gabe, and Eddie touched on it brilliantly there. And I think that's probably what's happening in the industry at the moment, whether it be amongst managers or committees, professionals, food and beverage operations. Clubs are very much looking at things much more as a business now and treating things that way. And that's leading to this real professionalisation of things, which can only be a good thing. But that's what, again, we'll be looking to explore in the show.
Yeah. And what sorts of things do you think that even American audiences might glean from listening to what's happening over there in the UK?
I think they might enjoy some of the club reviews we do. Hopefully that will give them a little taste of what clubs are like over here. We know the Americans like to travel over to the UK and play golf. There's so many good golf courses that offer something very, very different to what you get in the US. So certainly I hope that's one thing. But I think also we'll be talking about a lot of things that are central to any golf operation anywhere in the world, I suppose. So maybe the scale is a bit different sometimes, and looking at US clubs where turnovers and staffing levels and things like that are far and above what we do generally have in the UK. We'll be looking at the same issues really, and I can see anyone from anywhere being able to pull those things out that suit.
Yeah, I think it's so important to get that perspective. Talking about perspective, what I think makes you guys unique and why I think this show is going to be such a success and a hit is that you have a very unique perspective as it relates to the rest of the golf market in the UK. Eddie, why do you think your perspective is going to be a little different and maybe will challenge some of the status quo out there?
Well, because the market in the UK is changing anyway. I think there's no doubt. I think we'll all agree worldwide that there was a huge change in 2008. And then since then, businesses have had to change their dynamics, their attitudes, their approach completely. And it's so refreshing that with the clubs I'm very fortunately involved with, can see this change throughout the club, and there's no question that if you get the right people within the club leading that club, they then it's contagious. You get the right people that want to come and work for them, and then the club atmosphere completely change. So you become the culture changes completely, and that's one of the areas that the clubs have got to work very hard at. And if you can. We've learned a lot from Greg Patterson coming over and putting the love and the buzz back into the clubs. Well, it's certainly happening with a number of clubs here in the UK. And I'd like to think that I've been influenced in that. And I know that Leighton is influenced in developing that at Burford. And coming back to also, I think the US market probably only knows a certain amount of clubs, Gabe. There are some really great clubs that are operating, some wonderful golf courses as well, that need a little bit of help in their marketing. They haven't got the budgets to be able to market to that audience. So consequently, hopefully, we can, between us, on Golf Club Talk UK, make a little bit of difference for those clubs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just from your guys' background is very unique in terms of what it will lend to the discussions you'll have. Let's talk about, for folks who don't necessarily know your guys' background, just give us a little taste of it, maybe, in a the Reader's Digest condensed version, as it were. Leighton, we'll start with you. Give us a little background on yourself.
Yeah, well, I guess I've got the most international background of the two. Starting in Australia I started in the golf industry in Australia. I was about 28 years old, so 15 years ago now, and had played golf at a high amateur level as a youngster at a couple of really nice clubs in Adelaide, Australia. So that's my scene originally. I did two and a half years working at a club in Adelaide before moving over to the UK with my then partner, and we moved over back in 2004, late 2004, and I've been in the industry ever since. So, the last 13, 14 years. So that's been in a combination of clubs here in the UK, from proprietary, so company-owned clubs, a really good company called Burr Hill that I worked with for a little while. And that was a great grounding in the commercial side of golf businesses and a much more commercial establishment where it was more about driving numbers through the facility. Then moved sort of back into the private club world back in 2010, and that's sort of where I've stayed ever since, really. And I guess that's probably really a bit more where my passion is, and that's where I started my golf playing and working, and just love being around golf clubs, really. I've been around golf all my life, and there's not a day goes by where I wake up in the morning and don't look forward to coming to work. It's just one of those things that a lot of listeners will be able to assimilate with, that we're very lucky to be working in this industry. So, yeah, I guess I bring a slightly different perspective on things. Australian golf tends to be a little bit more forward thinking or modern in its thinking. It's very much about driving good modern facilities and constantly improving facilities, where maybe the UK is a little bit more about the traditional side of things and maintaining that tradition a bit. But, some fantastic clubs and courses over here. So loving where I am at the moment, and really looking forward to getting into the show.
Yeah. Now, Ed, you've got quite the background yourself. So share with us a little bit about where you've come from.
Yeah, Gabe, I started golf came to me when I started caddying, really, at local golf clubs. And then I caddied for somebody, Gabe, and I took his clubs. I used to use his clubs during the week, and he found out about it, and I thought I'd lost the job.
Oh, wow.
So he came in on that particular day and went into the pro shop, bought half a set of golf clubs, and still paid me and said, "I don't think you'll need my clubs anymore." And I still got the job the week after. So he started me off playing golf, and I evolved from there. And I come from the north of England, in a county called Yorkshire. I lived just in a city called Leeds. So I began my apprenticeship as a golf professional at a 9-hole municipal golf course called Roundy Golf Club. And so that was the start of me. I was learning cleaning clubs, cleaning shoes, anything, repairing golf clubs, doing the shop work, retail, making sure it's clean. And then you developed the opportunity to go and start teaching. So I was earning, I can think I was earning, my first teaching post was 10 shillings. What's that? So it's very little, but I had to give 50% back to the head golf pro. And so it was quite an education, and things evolved from there. So we then did my PGA qualifications, and then I stayed there for about 6 years, and then I moved to a club further south of England in a place called Bedford. So I became the head professional at Bedford and County Golf Club, which was exciting. You got your own retail operations. You had to invest into your business as well. You became a part of the club. You were teaching. You were playing with the members. But I think the key point for me, I then went into management. But the key point to me, I used to go to the US PGA show in Orlando a few years ago. Then I think the first one was in Walt Disney World, somewhere around there. And I could sense, mixing with the American pros, that they had just a different attitude completely, and they were more into the operations and the management of the club. So I brought that opportunity back with me, and and that gave me inspiration then to approach the club, and I wanted to do more work in terms of being a part of the membership, bringing the competitions into the shop, etc., and anything I could do just to make them aware of me a little bit more. And then lo and behold, things went in my way. They were going to employ a new secretary, and then he reneged on the opportunity because of house prices. And so it left a door open to me, and we had some new people on the board. Said we ought to think about Eddie, and because he's now obviously involving himself more. So I had that break, and then became the secretary, which was quite a very old sort of fashioned way of being approached to it. But I became the secretary and the golf professional of the club, and then after about 2 years, I then became the general manager, and then I got a manager into the pro shop, and then we started to create a totally different atmosphere without any training really. And this was before knowing anything about CMAA or CMAE or anything like that. I just went out on my own. I did go to a local business school for a little bit of time and did a program there, but we completely refurbished the clubhouse and developed a different appeal and different culture, and got more juniors and females involved, and got a national tournament there. And then that was seen as positive because I was then, I suppose, headhunted to become the managing director, which I accepted to go to Woburn Golf Club, which was a 36-hole club, very well known at the time, already had some major tournaments there with 1,000 members, but certainly more commercial and certainly a larger turnover than I'd ever been used to. And bearing in mind they were building another golf course at the time. So I fell on my feet in a nice way and was became the managing director at Woburn Golf Club, and we worked hard there. It was a great education for me. I stayed there for 9 years. We brought on a number of tournaments, European Tour events, with winners being Justin Rose, Thomas LeVay. There were two of those. We had the British Ladies Open Championship. Sherry Steinhauser won it when I was there. So it was an exciting time, and it was a great education for me. And then I decided to move on, and I always had this appetite to want to work on my own, and certainly with the networks and everything that I had achieved during those previous years. I started my own role as my own consultancy, as you've just said. And then from there on, I've been very fortunate to become the non-exec director for the Goodwood estate, and we've got the golf at Goodwood there. Non-exec for Royal Norwich, which is a new business that has started to evolve in East Anglia, and I also sit and advise for golf recruitment, specialising golf recruitment company called Colt Mackenzie McNear. So I'm pleased to say all three businesses are progressing and profitable and moving forward. And so I've had quite a bit of experience and in my time as well as everything else, and still try to keep the game going forward as well as everything else, Gabe, which is quite frustrating at times.
Well, I think folks would be hard pressed to find two guys who are more passionate than you two in terms of the golf game of golf and golf in the UK, as it were. Now, your first guest on the second episode that folks will hear is going to be Rob Hill over at Global Golf Advisors. So, Leighton, can you tell us a little bit about that interview and what folks can expect from episode 2 of Golf Club Talk UK?
Yeah, that was a great interview with Rob. Rob is always been with Global Golf Advisors for some time now, and looks after Europe, Africa, Middle East, and is based in Dublin in Ireland. And very, very knowledgeable guy, but also the work that Global Golf Advisors do in terms of digging into the trends in golf and and supporting clubs in strategic planning, etc. But they do a lot of analysis into the numbers of golf as well. And I'm sure Rob probably could have talked for hours on end about things, but that never makes for a good podcast, does it? So, we did manage to get some really good information out of Rob, and he touched on some of the key trends that are happening in the industry at the moment. A little bit of talk about millennials and their impact and influence on the industry now, and maybe what they're looking for a little bit more, and maybe how we can sort of try and predict some of the future trends going forward and adapt as quickly as possible. So a really good guy, and I'm sure people will definitely get something out of that episode.
Yeah, I know I did, just listening to it and helping you guys with the editing of that episode. It's going to be a really good one. I'm really excited for the show launching. Once again, it's going to launch October 31st. You'll hear the first episode of Golf Club Talk UK. And following that, there'll be episodes on the second Wednesday of every month. So episode 2 will then air October 14th and so on. We hope you tune in, and we appreciate your time today. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here on Private Club Radio.
Thanks, Gabe, and look forward to being a part of the Golf Radio Network as well.
Yeah, and a big thank you to you, Gabe, for guiding us through this. It's been great.
Once again, make sure that you subscribe if you already haven't. Hopefully you have by now. I've had the good fortune of hearing some of the initial interviews that these guys have done, and they do a great job bringing some experts from around the United Kingdom here to you. It's going to be fun. Make sure you subscribe. iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, all those good places. If you want to learn more about the show, head over to golfradionetwork.com, our family of podcasts, which includes Private Club Radio, #Wednesday Match Play, and now Golf Club Talk UK. Catch you back here next week. Until then, here's to your membership success.
Private Club Radio is brought to you by Concert Golf Partners, helping to preserve and enhance private golf and country clubs. Concert Golf has the capital, expertise, and private club hospitality experience to help upscale private clubs achieving long-term success and membership growth. For 25 years, Concert Golf has allowed private club members to focus on simply enjoying their club. Visit concertgolfpartners.com to learn more about the recapitalization process.